This is going to be about John Leguizamo and history. I watched a program on PBS, Great Performances, about John Leguizamo building a one-man show he called Latin History for Morons. I'd seen it before, but I watched it again because I recalled that it was good, and I have always liked the work of John Leguizamo. He started out by writing bits and pieces, mostly about the history of Latin people, with some stuff about his family, especially his son. He did some nights at comedy clubs developing the material, and then he tried to expand it and weave it together at a theater in La Jolla, deepening the laughs, the JPMs, jokes per minute, into more complex dramatic moments. Eventually, he and the people he was working with turned it into a Broadway show, but a step along that path was getting it on stage at the New York Public Theater. The head of the Public Theater said that if he could create the perfect show for his stage, it would be Latin History for Morons. The reason, he said, is that John is trying to reclaim Latin history for his son and for his family. He's trying to reclaim it for himself and for his people. He's trying to show how they can be and are the subjects of history and not just the objects of history. I think if anybody could do that, it would be John Leguizamo. He's smart and he's tough and he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's a warrior. But speaking for myself, and maybe I wish it were not so, and maybe it should not be so, if I were more of a hero, what they call a stand-up guy, the essence of the great comedians, battlers like Leguizamo, who put society to the test and found it badly, sadly wanting. But I am not that hero, and I feel as if I am definitely and completely an object of history, a grain of sand on a big beach, one who amounts to nothing and will leave no trace. That is a dark thought, but I also think it's an accurate one. It's best not to kid yourself about your own importance. And really, if history overwhelms me, reduces me, ignores me, eliminates me, it's also true that I want no part of history. I can see the people who are making, okay, if not history, at least the headlines, and these people seem to me to be a large collection of witless fools and morons, with an occasional pompous ass tossed in, all fixed up in fine suits, well-coiffed hair, always speaking in front of impressive sets, and they have august titles attached to their names, and they invariably claim to be speaking for the people, the children, or some tremendous inspiring principle, yet I think they are witless fools and morons, with an occasional pompous ass thrown in, and I want nothing to do with them, and fervently wish that they, from their elevated platform, will have nothing to do with little old me. I heard today that we may be preparing to go to war with Iran. They have ships with missiles that could be fired on our fleet. That's the threat, the justification. If we do go to war, that would be history in the making, and I don't know what it has to do with me or I with it. I was not consulted either way. I don't know if the claim is true. However it goes, I will be the object, one of many, e pluribus, of that history. To be the subject of history, to be a figure in it, with some say in what happens. Shakespeare's history are filled with kings, and I guess kings could be called the subjects of history. Hamlet was on the subject-object borderline. I'm no king. I'm an object, a tiny thing when it comes to history. History happens, and when it does, it either lets me pass, runs me over, or tells me where to stand. I don't like being the object of history. I don't think anyone does, but we are, by the millions and by the billions. History churns on, a stupid story conducted by witless fools and morons, with the occasional pompous ass thrown in, wheelers and dealers who think their shit don't stink. I am an object of history, and I'm not proud of it. Not proud of being an object, nor of the history itself. All of the history I see is grossly inferior to what I think it might have been. Once, the baby boomers, my generation, were going to change things. They were going to do a simple thing, make the world a better place. We did not do that. It probably wouldn't have happened anyway, but John Kennedy was shot, Robert Kennedy was shot, Martin King was shot, Medgar Evers was shot, and a band sang a song with this pathetic lyric: "I'd love to change the world, but I don't know what to do, so I'll leave it up to you." That pretty much sums up our accomplishment. We took a pass. John Leguizamo's play made some people feel better, but they're still subjects of the king and the objects of history. And if he really and truly tried to stir things up, not just perform on a stage, someone would probably shoot him.